Hey, Buru, Boya, Buchich, everybody in Cyberland. Hopefully you're all doing okay today. Hey, had a little bit of technical difficulties with the original schedule live, but we are 6 minutes overdue, and I'm hoping everybody can jump on in and get to this live as soon as possible. All right, I see one person on here. Perfect. Hey, Buddha boy, Bucheche. Hey, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but hey, it's good to see you, Ty. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. I see a couple of people trickling in. So hey, apologize again. Technical difficulties. So hey, definitely want to kind of get this going and see where everybody's coming in. So I'm gonna post a quick question on here. Do you believe you should learn before initiation? There's a reason why I'm asking that question, right? Should you learn before initiation? And it's a very easy question to ask, right? And the reason why I'm asking the question is because I think it's important based on what we're going to talk about today. Hey, Boya, Bucheche, Awotura. So I see people trickling in, and I'll probably give them another minute, but now's a good time to kind of just see where everybody's hailing from. So, where's everybody coming from? I got 8 people on right now, right? So I want to understand where people are coming from, what state. Are you initiated? Are you a Babalawo? Are you a practitioner, an aleo of some sort? Hit me up on the chat. Let's talk. We're going to make this about us. I agree. I think everyone should learn, before they initiate. And I'm glad, and I see people trickling in. So, just to go ahead and just jump right to it, right? Because I know everybody's time is valuable, right? And again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody for the support and everybody who's a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, because I think this live right here is going to truly change your perspective on how you see things. Lizette, boy, much love. Hey, so we got Florida, originally from the Bronx. Yeah, everybody from the East Coast seems to kind of filter down to the South, right? Better weather, better beaches, I'm sure. So hey, why did I originally set this up? Right, that's definitely a major question. Coco's holistics, and here's the main question, right? I'm gonna give you a little bit about me, Pacific from PA, my man. I'm gonna give you some specifics about me, because I always tell people credibility is the key to truly understand whether or not you want to take the next step in this faith, right? I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and I'm going to tell you where my mind's at, right? And while I'm doing that, feel free to chat in the chat group and make sure you ask questions. Nothing's off the table, okay? Nothing's off the table. If I'm going to do a live, I tell people all the time, as much as I want to stick to an agenda and I'll get through the agenda, I want to be able to kind of answer maybe some of those urgent questions that maybe you have. Boya. Okay. Boya. Look at Max. Okay. Hey, so here's the thing. I got 23 years within the government sector, right? And I'm still in the government sector. The reason why I'm telling you these things about me is because I want you to understand who I am. I hold accreditations in major universities. I have degrees. I have certifications. I've been practicing this faith for 3 decades. Okay, I've been a Babalawo for over a decade. I've been leading an Ile for over 7 years now, because obviously I got to go through some lessons, some understanding. I got to better learn from leads us to the divinity of wisdom. So that's something that I want to make sure I kind of shared with you. In addition, who am I? For those who have been tuning in and you're one of the subscribers, you understand that I'm a bridge maker. I like to teach. I like to build that bridge of understanding across all spectrums in order to truly captivate, right, the folks that are actually tuning in, the people who want to learn. Because I asked a question on the top of this chat, right? And you're gonna see. I bet you every single one of you are gonna answer the same answer, and it's yes. Do you believe you should learn before initiation? And that's something that's really important to understand. Because in our culture, okay, and I say our culture because it doesn't matter where you hail from or what lineage of Ifa, Orisha, Ocha, Santeria, it doesn't matter how you came about to understanding this spirituality, but I would tell you something for sure. We have what's called the reverse concept of education in this faith. Because what do all the elders tell you? I bet you every single one of y'all gonna say the same thing. What do the elders tell you when you ask them questions, right? They say, not right now, it's not for you, or hey, once you initiate, I'll teach you, or hey, we'll tell you the next time, or hey, you're not ready for that. And that was something that I was plagued with coming up as well. And I think each and every one of you can probably contest to the same thing, right? Everything comes with time, right? And I do believe wholeheartedly between the secrets and between information, because the secrets comes with the wisdom of taking the knowledge, the understanding, the aspects of ceremony and initiation, right? And when you combine it, that's the secret. But knowledge is not secret. Knowledge is not something that needs to be withheld from people who want to live this faith and love this faith. And I think it's important for us to kind of talk about that just a little bit, right? And then I'm going to tell you about something that I'm working on. I'm going to answer your questions, but I want to get your guys' feedback on this. So I see we got people from Connecticut, Alabama, Boya, Paul, my man, Cali's on here. We got people who have been in New York. Now they moved all over the place. I see that a lot. I see that a lot. And Coco's holistic, you're not the only baby, right? I think we're all babies. Even people laugh at me when I tell them all the time. I say, listen, I'm a baby in Ifa, right? Just because I have some time under my belt doesn't mean that I have all the answers. And I think that's very important to kind of navigate through so that we can build that understanding. So why did I do this live, right? One, I think that I owed it to you guys. I haven't done a live in a long time. I haven't done a Q&A in a long time. I think I only really done one. This channel's been up for a few years now. And you guys have done me the solid, right, of tuning in and subscribing. And you kind of draw a blank because you truly don't know how to articulate, right? You don't know how to articulate what exactly is it that you are part of. Right? What is that spirituality that you are truly following? The one that you love so much. Now, here's the question. Goes back to the original question I asked. Do you believe you should learn before initiation? And that is the purpose of why I started an institute that I'm going to start doing classes next month. Right? This is not a sales speech. I'm not trying to sell anybody, but what I am trying to tell you is that it's important for us to understand. It's important for you to understand. What are you jumping into? Right? How much different do you think your life would be if you had some firm understanding of where you were going to walk into? What about if before you received your mano de orula, you truly had an understanding who was Eshu, Ogun, Ochosi, Osun, Orumila? And why is it that we have to feed these things called eguns? And by the way, when we were feeding them and honoring them, what was that? And why were you singing? And what were you chanting? And why was that service that was there? And what does that mean? Because it's a whole different ballgame when you're able to walk into a situation, understanding what's about to somewhat happen. Again, not trying to get rid of secrets. We're not trying to bring the game to a halt and reveal everything. But it's the education piece that I think is missing. And I think that's something that's very important. I will also say, how do you start a journey in your spirituality, in that core faith that you have in your heart, without having some form of understanding as well? And I think at the end of the day, we got to start getting to some of these points that are super important in order for us to build the next generation. Because think about it. It is 2023. We are almost done with this year going into 2024. You got things like artificial intelligence. You got conflicts around the world. You got gas prices that are soaring. You got people who are trying to connect themselves with something that they know is pure. Because we all understand that right now the world is in turmoil almost. There's a lot of hate. You know what I mean? There's a lot of hate. There's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of miscommunication out there. And I want to make sure that I provide something. I do my part. So when I go to sleep or when I'm praying and while I'm attending the Orishas or the Eguns or Lofing is looking down at me saying, hey, he is doing his piece. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get to. So something that I think is very fundamental is that both Orisha, Ifa, Condomble, Santeria, Ocha, you change the name, but you don't change the faces per se. You don't change the energy. You don't change the characteristics or the attributes that nature brings together. But what you do bring to the table is a power that goes against the norm, right? Because think about it. How many people follow Abrahamic faiths? How many people truly, Catholics, Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses, all these people who follow Abrahamic culture, right? The first thing that they have and they understand is that they got a book. The first thing they understand is that they have something that can guide them. They understand that book. They have a copy of that book. That's what we do not have. We do not have that copy of that book. We don't have a solid document or a doctrine that you can walk around and say, listen, this is why I believe the way I believe. Because in this story right here, Orumila said, or in this story right here, Obatala said, Yemaya, Ochung, and they walked this earth, and they saw this earth, and they lived this earth. And that's something that I think is truly, truly, truly is lacking. And that's why I'm thinking we got to get back down to some of those basics. Some of you saw the video that I made, the one that said back to basics. And I did that because I noticed that a lot of people, even though they were getting initiated, they still were not getting the guidance that they needed, even to attend what they were receiving. So the problem is a little bit more complex than what it seems. But I can only do so much. But as we grow together, here's the thought, right? Your Fair Babalawo Institute, right? I said your Fair Babalawo Institute because all of you guys know that's the buzzword. I started that way. Ultimately, at the end of the curriculum, through a course, what's the history? I'm not telling you to get African history. The idea is that you are a follower or candomblé or voodoo, it doesn't matter. You're still chopping it up. You're still chopping it up, right? Into what you want it to be so that you can better understand where you want to go with it, right? But the key is, where do you want to go with it? So again, let's build the foundation. So I would tell you that, yes, I created the curriculum, right? I've been working on it for years. I've been working with my elders with it. And the first curriculum is a 4 sessions. And the 4 sessions are supposed to teach you, right? Teach us together what happened. Why is Oduduwa so important? Why is Chango so important? Why do we look at Oduduwa as the leader of Ile Ife? But what's the relationship between Oduduwa and Obatala? Why do we look at Chango as the king of oil? But we also understand that Ajuka, right? Or we look at other Orishas like Oya, and we look at the rivers, and the rivers have names of orishas and the why. And then fast forward to the slave trade, because that's what interests me the most. That is what interests me the most. Because the slave trade is where we come in. Again, I am 100% Ifa is Ifa. Okay, Ifa is Ifa. So whether Ifa is in Nigeria or Ifa is in the United States, Ifa is one. It's holistic. It's a universal concept of things. And when we look at that universal concept, we got to begin to navigate that there is no them versus us. However, the Eguns. I will tell you now that the Eguns, right, from here, the world and the land, right? So if you look at it from holistically, the world is one thing, but the land that you live in, where your ancestors, where they bled, right, where they sweat, where they died, that land is now the fertilized land of our people. And this is why it's very important to kind of understand. Okay, very important to kind of understand. So, Coco Holistic, you still can't hear me at all? Do I need to speak up a little bit? You hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Okay. All right, perfect. Hey, I'm gonna try to get a little closer here. Let's see what's going on. Perfect. All right, so again, the key is to understand the aspect of the eguns that are your eguns. Each and every one of us, at the end of the day, I would tell you, each and every one of us has brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, parents, grandparents, somebody that's passed away in your lineage. And they were probably buried in this land. And this is where the delineation is very, very important. This is why you have to understand Egun worship. This is why it's very important for us to have a curriculum for us here in the US, not to copy and rubber stamp something that came from Africa, because the African way of doing business is important. Understanding that foundation and that history is important, but that's no longer home for us. That's just the key. And that's the reason why the curriculum that we're going to introduce in your Fair Babalawo Institute is a curriculum for us, the diaspora, the Lokumi, the things that we follow, so that we can collectively understand where we're going and how we're going to go. That is the big key. And that's something that I just want to ensure that you guys understand, where is my mission going. Now, imagine this. Now you understand the history, you understand the slave trade, you understand the why between the terms of Santeria and Condomble, and what were some of those settlements and those world powers that brought the slaves over, and why the names changed. Now you can articulate, when people ask you, what is your faith about? You begin to kind of sit back and you say, damn, wow, okay, I understand where my faith came from. I understand where my faith is going. Right? That's just the historics of it. Now, let's tie that into Ifa. Let's tie that into the universal creation. Let's tie that into when Obatala was molding, right, the human body. When Ogun came and solidified the skeleton. When Olodumare put life into us. Now, we're talking. Now you're building a full picture of what this faith is. Because it has to travel. The faith has to grow. Again, if we don't grow it together and we don't learn it together, 2024 is right around the corner. Artificial intelligence is going to come around. The misinformation is going to get worse, and we have to get after it. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. And in Boya, Bucheche to each and every one of you. Janae, I see you on there. I see Pam on there. I see quite a few people on here. A lot of love, a lot of love. So I would tell you that ultimately the idea is, I'm going to launch this, right? I'm going to launch this campaign. And if you want to support it and you want to join it, great. But here's something else that I'm going to tell you about this campaign, right? Every dime is going to go into a nonprofit organization. Okay? I already told you guys. I'm 23 years, government worker, still in. I'm not dying for money, but I do understand that others are. I do understand that people struggle to get just the pennies of the dollar to get an initiation done. And I think that's sad. When someone has a heart that's full and they want to follow Olodumare, they want to follow God, they want to follow the Orishas and the Egos, and they're trying to connect, there should not be a dollar that's stopping that connection. That's the other piece of this that we have to understand. And that's why in 2023, we kind of see that there's an influx, right? There's a lot of people doing a lot of things in order just to lace their pockets. And again, I'm not going to talk prices, I'm not going to talk dollars, but I am going to say that there's some reality to that. There's some reality that we're not necessarily being good stewards of community, right? I think we can do better. And that's just my take on it, right? So even taking that money and putting it into the nonprofit and organizing a nonprofit in order to better build our future, our kids, right? The struggling communities. That's going to be the other piece of this. And that's the reason why I'm telling you guys this. I'm telling you guys this because I'm not, again, I'm telling you what the Institute's about. I'm telling you what the Institute's going to do for the community. I'm telling you what the Institute's going to do for you if you decide to go ahead and subscribe to it and say, hey, yes, I want to learn. All right. I would tell you, every curriculum has 4 sessions, right? It's a month long. On Thursdays is when I'm going to hold it, in the evening when it's more convenient for everyone, right? And in that way, I can capture some of the West Coast folks and I can kind of be considerate to the East Coast, almost going to bed, but I want to hold the class. I want to hold a 1-hour class, 45 minutes of curriculum, 15 minutes of Q&A. You'll know exactly when you're going to start and when you're going to get off. And not only do I leave you with a deeper understanding of where you're going, how you got here, historically, Patakis, right? Talking Ifa, but you're also going to give back to the community as well. So I tell you that again, I'm not trying to pitch anything. So Q&A, guys, ask me questions. I want to hear, and I want you guys to challenge me on what do you think about this institute? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think that maybe I need to expand this curriculum? Because I would tell you that I have about a dozen lesson plans already set out. I got one for the historics, one to kind of tie in the universal beginning when Olodumare first created the universe. When we talk about the aspects of Akamara, and we talk about the aspects of Eshu, and we talk about when the actual Big Bang aspect occurred, right? That sounds exciting, right? And then we're going to get into, okay, I'm ready to initiate. I want to receive my mano de orula. What to expect? How do I prepare myself? What should I understand before getting into this? What is the concepts of the mano de orula or the awofaka or ikofa? Right? Those things are very important to understand. What about when you now have your mano de orula? Well, how do I best attend and how do I get closer to my ancestors? What's the bóveda? What's the teja de egun? What do you mean I have to go get scratched? All those things are important things to kind of understand as you take these journeys. And what do those things mean? And how do those things affect your household? What about if you have a split household? Maybe some of you are initiated in the house and some of you are not. Maybe some of you are of different faiths. Those things are complex issues that need to be talked about, things that need to be understood. And that's the reason why I think it's very important to introduce something like your favorite Babalawo Institute so that we can build these curriculums one by one. But it doesn't stop there. What happens when you receive a divinity? Oh, I received a locum. Now what? How do I use a locum? What is a locum for? How do I invoke a locum? What are some of the things that I need to understand about a locum? What are the attributes? How do they affect nature? How do they affect nature in my life? How do they affect nature, my Odun, and my guardian Orisha? And that's when things start to really steam up because everything that you receive ties right into each other. Right? So the Institute is going to be designed based on where you are in your spiritual journey. No different than if you went to school, right? The only thing is, I'm not going to give you guys homework, right? But I'm going to teach you a lot. I'm going to actually give you papers. I'm going to introduce to you actual papers and documents of research so you can see with your own eyes that it's not me making it up, but this is gathered information, references, so that you understand where information is coming from and how it ties together. Now, I'll pause, right? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the chat. What we got going on? What do we got going on? I really feel like I need to have things explained to me as one, just as a small child. Absolutely. I don't think you're alone on this, Cocos. I really don't. I think everyone has and deserves, especially if you're putting out money. Let me tell you this. If you are putting out money to receive something, it's what I call the spiritual investment. Then your spiritual investment should come with a manual. No different if you went to IKEA to build something, you have a manual. You should read through the manual. You should understand the manual. And I think that's something where we got to get back to, right? We talk about that reverse concept of learning, right? Where we're so used to in this phase saying, hey, once you receive what you're going to receive, right, we'll teach you. But then they teach you really slow, right? And some people might be a little faster than others. Some people can learn things a lot faster. Some people need to read. Some people need to be hands-on. Some people need some live, like a camera like this. Hey, let's talk. How does this work? How does this work? Let me show you how it works, right? Those things are very important to understand. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that the Institute is going to begin to cover. All those things will cover themselves. What else we got here? No, you're welcome. Crystal, it's my pleasure. Let me tell you, so, and this is something that we all need to kind of understand going in, is that when we consecrate orishas and we decide to take that path to be a Babalawo, a Santera, or Olorisha, however you want to refer to it in your lineage, you understand that you becoming a priest and a priestess comes with obligations, comes with patience, it comes with teaching. Right. And I just recently had this conversation with another Babalawo. That's our job in life. If we can't handle it, then we probably don't need to rush into a priesthood or priestesshood. That's something that's just vital. It's vital. So I take that serious, Crystal. That's where I'm getting to. I take it very serious. And again, from a full-time job to a full-time Babalawo, I don't distinguish. And my wife will tell you, she says, man, he'll burn a candle from two sides of the candle. He'll turn that wick on, right? And that's just something that I've been blessed to kind of balance, right? Because that work-life balance is important, right? And this passion of mine, right? This is it. This is my hobby. This is everything, right? My spare time everything goes into this. This is part of my life and part of my mission. I feel that's where I need to go. And that's where I'm going. David, Boya, I think it's a great idea. I wouldn't mind the homework and quizzes because it allows me to see my own progress. Hey, let me tell you something about me. So again, I told you guys I got multiple certifications, right? And I got in leadership, life coaching. I was even an instructor. And we always did that, these feedbackizations. That's something I truly love doing. Cocos, you say, if I had a reading done to learn what my taboos are, and I was informed, but I'm not in a position to really stop, what might happen if I continue to do these things? Okay, Cocos, you were asking a loaded question, right? So here's I'm gonna give you the baseline, right? I'm gonna give you the company line, we'll call it, right? I always tell people, be careful what you come to Orula to do and ask for or hear. Because the moment that these chains go down, right, in a consultation, or the enquines are pulled, right, Ifa is telling you something because Ifa understands that you have something in front of you in your destiny that's a barrier. And Ifa is trying to warn you about those taboos. So the next question would be, was that taboo from a consultation or was it from a mano de Orula Ita? which is when they pulled the palm nuts. That will determine my answer to you next. I'm going to jump to Javen. Javen and Boya, I think the Institute's a great idea for people who want to learn and aren't born into this. Boya, beautiful. Let me share a story with you guys. So I was actually with one of my godsons, right, is not in this faith at all. Family, nothing. Was completely oblivious, but understood the concepts of spirituality. He loved the way you navigate orishas and eguns and what it represented. And he loved that idea, right? But he was really lost in the sauce, right? And I would tell you that the more and more I talked to him and the more and more I was teaching him, I understood that the baseline was different. The baseline is different with a lot of people, right? And it's important to capture that because some people are novices and some people are going to be a little bit more experienced based on family, based on experiences. So those things are very, very, very important. So, hey, I appreciate the kudos. I love it. So, Cocos, for your consultation, it happened in Nigeria. It was with shells. A consultation with the shells, the delegun, is only as good as 21 days. If you are outside your 21-day window, the taboo is no longer valid. And here's the reason why. I don't want you guys to think I'm making things up. The 21 days represents the 21 primary paths of Elewa. We all understand Elewa has 101, et cetera, et cetera. But the 21 days is when a full rotation occurs when Elewa is talking to you. All right. So imagine you went to the doctor, you took a snapshot of you, you did an x-ray and some blood work, and the doctor said, hey, I need you to take these antibiotics. I need you to take this medicine for the next 7 days. But in this scenario, the legume was talking to you. The shells were talking to you. So it says, take this medicine for the next 21 days. That part of that medicine was understanding those taboos. And now that the medicine is over, you don't take the medicine no more. That's the best Western analytical way I can explain it to you so it makes sense, right? In Ifa, the 16 Meis dictate how Ifa is governed because Orumila is the one that set those oracles together. When you do an Ifa consultation, it's 16 days. The Legum consultation is going to be 21 days. That's just a snapshot in time. Now, for those of you who have Itas, Mano de Orula, all those things, just understand that ultimately at the end of the day, right, though that is your universal law. That is the foundation of your home, right? So then that means that is a taboo that you cannot break because at that moment, your Ori was speaking through those Inquines, was speaking through the Deleguns when they fed the Orishas, a four-legged animal. Right? We brought the energy together to show your life force and show your Ori and show us what your Ori wants to show us. And in this case, you said you stopped smoking for 2 months. Your Ori at that moment says she needs to stop smoking. The question is, why did you need to stop smoking? Those are the questions you got to ask because every Delegun, every oracle of Ifa has a meaning behind it. We don't just say, hey, stop smoking. Because I can tell you that smoking's bad for you. Stop smoking. Okay, perfect. Right? Makes sense, right? Smoking builds tar. It's not good for you. It doesn't have any health attributes, right? But that's not the point. The point here is not to give you a life lesson more than you are looking for a spiritual lesson from the higher powers. That's what you're looking for. So you're good to go. Don't worry too much. Let's see, what's next here? D-Shot. Boom, I haven't been in a position to connect with my IA due to my own personal procrastination and life issues and hers. Do you think it may be irresponsible or if I is showing me it isn't my time yet? So when you say you're IA, D-Shot, are you crowned? Are you working on getting crowned? Are you working on becoming an Olorisha? Are you working on what exactly? Because that determines the connection and the bond that you have with your spiritual elder. We call them Baba, we call them Iya, we call them Olorishas, Babalochas, Oriates, Obas, Babalaos, whatever you want to call it. But that is where it truly matters, right? Is that connection right? Your loyalty to become your crutch. And what I mean by that is not everybody is meant for everybody. In your scenario, you're procrastinating. So my question to you would be, have you looked yourself in the mirror and said, why? Because maybe you're right. Maybe it's not time for you yet to do anything that you truly need to go and do. Because maybe you don't have that. And I tell people all the time, you have to have the balance. Personal life, spiritual life. If those things are not balanced out, you're going to notice that you will overwhelm yourself with spirituality, and your personal life is going to become a lot lighter. But guess what? We live in a world where if you don't have the personal responsibilities in check, you're going to begin to hinder, and you're going to begin to try to compensate with the spirituality. But Ifa teaches us that if we don't find that balance in our lives, we're going to have a problem. We're going to struggle. That's why I tell people all the time, be very careful on how you generate, right? How you generate these initiations and where you're going and how you're going, and do you have your life together? Now, some people get consecrations because, hey, they're in their deathbed, they're dying, right? And we got to do some emergency work. I've seen people do initiations because that was required, because for one reason or another, they were trying to get out of a bad predicament and they needed something that was that massive of a work that they had to do it. So there's different flavors to that. So again, I guess I go back to your question and say, well, if you're procrastinating, is the why. And then after you understand the why, are you ready? And making a phone call and telling an elder that you're thinking about them, hey, listen, I hear you and I understand. I just don't think I'm ready. Nothing wrong with that. The best relationships you have with your elders are the ones that you can be honest about. The ones that you can tell them, hey, I need something, or hey, I haven't heard, or I need to learn, or hey, my life is not in the right place right now, and they understand. If they don't understand, you got a different problem, because that's not a spiritual leader. That's not somebody that you're going to bond with for life. That sounds like somebody that's willing to give up on you because your life is rough. You got to be careful about those things. But I'm not saying that's the person. I'm sure your Iya is a wonderful, wonderful person. Much respect to them all. What else? Where we at? Bum, 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 bum. Never got to ask that. Yeah, and it's okay. If you didn't ask the question when they threw the caracoles, the delegum, time is done, has passed. Live your life. Iwapale. Very important. Live your life to the best, more and ethical way you know how to live it, right? And little by little, you'll begin to grow, right? This is a crawl, walk, then run type effort in this spirituality, right? You're not gonna learn everything in one day, and you'll get there. You'll get there. Don't rush it and don't stress about it. Boya Bucheche Barino, Boya Quinn. I have a question about getting scratched. What decides you receive that ceremony? Going for a consultation, going to the eguns. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be real with you guys, right? I think if you guys been following me enough in YouTube, I've been very political on how I say things. I'm just gonna be real with you guys when it comes to palo, mayombe, candomblé, lo engangas, those type of levels of work within our faith. We understand that this faith is broken down into three things: Orisha, Egun, and Ifa. Right? We understand that 100%. So here's the big piece, right? Boya Lucero. Now, when you break those three things down and you look at the aspects of Egun worship, right? We have to focus on the Eguns because we're talking to the Eguns. If I'm going to crown an Orisha or pick a godmother to crown a person, right? They'll go back to their Orishas. So Quentin, to answer your question, here's how I dissect it, being respectful to everything. One, no one should be trying to get scratched or anything like that without a consultation. Either it's a consultation with the Eguns, right? Or a consultation with Ifa. because Ifa is going to tell you the direct path to your Ori. What your Ori needs, right? And you can consult the Eguns with a palero. You can consult the Eguns with through a spiritual mass, which is when you get a medium, which is a piritita, and they got the Boya, and they go through their process, right? And I would tell you, my recommendation always to everybody is get your mano de orula first. Once I understand what is your no kidding life sign, your odunda, your ori, your subconscious, your ori came from the foot of God and came down here into this body that you have right now, right? In order to complete a mission. And I don't know what that mission is until you receive your mano de orula, your awofaka for guys, ikofa for women. Once I understand that, then I need to be able to understand your Orisha Abati Ori. I need to understand where is your head at. Because when I combine those two things together, all right, when I combine those two things together, they give me a roadmap to your success spiritually. Now, we got to still consult the Eguns. So if I see in your Odu, in your Orisha Abatori, that you will be a great candidate to go deeper into the secrets of Egun, then I will schedule you a spiritual misa. And in that spiritual misa, the medium, which is called a misa, an investigative misa, right? They will be able to begin to tell us what you need, right? And your eguns, not my eguns, not my ecoles, not the delegun, no. Your eguns are going to begin to understand what they can work with and what they can't. Because maybe Paulo's too strong for the army that you have. Maybe the army that you have is all you need. Maybe you are already lined up with the eguns from birth, Otonwa. Where you hear a lot of people say that you came down here born scratched, right? There's a lot of aspects to that, but you have to kind of really do the analyzing, because if you scratch or you go into a different coat of egun and you don't have all the information, it can be detrimental to your destiny. And that's what we're trying to avoid. That's why things like the Yoruba, your fair Babalawo Institute and things like that, this is the reason why. Again, guys, this is the knowledge that I'm talking about. These are the great questions that need to be taught. And someone needs to sit down and talk to people and break it down and analyze it. That's good stuff. Anita, I'm sorry. It says I'm breaking up. No voice. Is it just me or does the video keep freezing? Guys, if my video is off, I apologize. I don't know. I got good connection. I'm sorry. Hopefully, once you see this video and it goes live and it posts on YouTube, you guys can reference it 24/7, 365. But give me more. What are the questions you guys got? Talk to me. Because it seems to me right now, everybody right now is excited about your Fair Babalawo Institute. So I will leave you guys a little bit more on this. In your favorite Babalawo Institute, okay, I'm going to start classes 26 October 26. I will start classes. That will be the first class of a curriculum that has 4 sessions. So that's 4 Thursdays, right? Now, once those 4 sessions are over, you will be completely indoctrinated on what that curriculum was. I will then have other curriculums lined out, no different than if you went to a college advisor and you say, hey, I want to take a class. And you're going to be able to pick the class that you want. Hey, I'm about to get my mano de orula. Hey, I got my mano de orula. Hey, what should I be doing next? What should I focus on? We'll have the mini courses, and then we'll have full-blown session for courses. No different like the first one that I'm going to roll out starting October 26th. That's the idea. That's the idea. Now, it seems like a lot of people are having connection problems, so I apologize. And it could be because I turned the streaming level high to get some HD definition, and that can probably interfere, right? Depending if you're on your mobile or if you have a Wi-Fi connection. So lesson learned for next time. Lesson learned for next time. All right. Jeannie, Barino, your connection is good. Thank you. Thank you. Love listening to you, but can't. Your voice is gone. Well, I appreciate it. Your wedding anniversary. What a gift. Hey, congratulations. That's beautiful, right? When you got two couples together living together, man, and you guys make it work, get through it, right? No struggle is too big. Get through it all. Since I haven't been training with my what are some books that are good to read for learning? So here's the thing about books, and I tell people a lot. When it comes to books, it's important that you focus on certain authors that line up with the philosophy of your leaders, right? So, for example, I give my ile or people that I work with, right, or people that I consult, right, when they ask me that question, the first thing I say is that, listen, if you go from me to someone else, the philosophy changes a bit, right? The foundation is solid, but the philosophy changes a bit. So it's important to you to understand that certain authors, for example, I love Marcelo Madan. I like the storytelling, which is there's a lot of fictional aspects to certain books, and I don't want to call nobody out, but there's certain books that have a good solid foundation of philosophy, right? But I'd be willing to share that. Absolutely, I'll be willing to share that. Email me, okay? Email me. I'm gonna put my email on the chat. If you email me, I'll send you my books. If you think that what my level of teaching and you like the way that where I'm driving information, then get to these books. But if you decide to choose a spiritual leader to guide you later, do not be surprised if there's some conflict, right? Because some spiritual leaders have their own way of teaching. And that's something that you have to remember. La regla de Ifa at gmail.com. There's my email, guys. I just put it in the chat. You need the email. Email me. I'm easy, super easy. Email me, you get a response. Again, I like to respond to everyone as much as I can. Be patient, but I will get to it. This is bloodline only. The Orishas don't work outside the bloodline. Yeah, well, bless goddess. You know, you have some points there, right? And I don't know if you were in here from the beginning. In when you talk about bloodline, right? There is a concept that goes back to Yoruba culture back in Nigeria, right? Where a lot of the tribes they had to give each other their names as they began to manifest themselves as olorishas or priests or priestesses, down to the point where they got their orisha name, they got their prayers, and there were certain things that stood within that lineage of the family, right? That lineage of the family, unfortunately, with the slave trade, was destroyed. Nigeria is doing a great job of repairing what they lost. But if you look at the statistics of Nigeria and what's being preached out there and where the faiths have destroyed a lot of the cultural connection that they had, you begin to kind of have to look back to the slaves. And that's the reason why the diaspora is a mechanism for understanding as well. So you're not wrong. There is bloodline to it, right? But then I also would tell people that a lot of the bloodlines that we all have a lot of richness and a lot of ties back to Africa in one way or another. Right? A lot of people may not believe it, but they do. And then I will always tell people that even your bloodline is rich, even if you don't have a tie. Because anybody who practices this faith has heard this word filani, which talks about the eguns that come from the Asian continent. So we have to show that level of respect to eguns. Eguns are eguns, right? Eguns come first. We understand that we have to honor the ancestors. That's the reason why every ceremony we do, what do we do first? We feed the eguns. Every initiation, you feed the eguns. That's mandatory, right? So you're not wrong. blessed goddess. But ultimately, it gets a little bit more complicated, right? But I also will piggyback on blessed goddess's, statement that the bloodline is traditional. I would tell you, I can tell you my bloodline in the spiritual route, no different than I can tell you my bloodline in a physical route. That's something else that is very important for us to understand too. Understand where your elders came from. Who taught your elders? And who taught your elders' elders? Who are your grandparents and your great grandparents and your great great grandparents? Those things are important to understand. I would tell you that I started mapping back, and I got down to the late 1700s on my spiritual lineage from my godfather down. And at a certain point, it's going to get difficult, guys, right? But those are things that spiritual leaders need to talk to you about, need to introduce you to, that you should probably ask, because those are important concepts. Your bloodline, your physical bloodline, right? Understand where your mom is from, your grandparents are from, where they lived, where they died, everything. Understand it, because that is a way for you to harness your energy. That is a way that when you're in front of your Boya, your altar, your Orung, your Egungun, your Teja de Egun, it doesn't matter. You need to understand where you're coming from in order to know where you're going. All right, Buddha Boya. I'm okay with that. All right, Anita's leaving. My practice Ocha. Is that similar to the Ifa you practice? No. Okay, so great question. Ocha. Ocha is Orisha. Ocha is Orisha. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Okay? It's how we get about the aspects of Olorisha, or how we get to the practice of honoring the Orishas and consecrating Orishas and being priests and priestesses of Orisha. That's where things differ. Ocha was created by need, right? The slaves came over, and guess what happened when the slaves tried to practice the traditions and the workings of Chango or Ogun or Ochun or Yemaya? Do you think that the Spanish settlers or the British settlers or anybody wanted to hear that? No, they were indoctrinated into their faith, and they didn't support anything else, because anything else was considered criminal, was considered diabolic, right? So they will kill them if they practiced it. So what do you think they did? The slaves got together, something that doesn't happen too often, even when you look at the seven principal tribes in Africa. The slaves had to work together. So you had an Ogun and an Ochung and a Yemaya and a Chango, and you had all these priests and priestesses that knew that they couldn't do it by themselves. So they created a circle of information in order to, when they had to initiate, they were going to preserve their secrets. So that's where Ocha was born. So in an Ocha ceremony, you have all the Orishas are going to be initiated into your Ocha, Igba Ocha. When you go into your room of Ocha, you're actually initiating all of them. Only one goes on your head, but you're actually initiating with all of them, right? If you look at Africa and how the traditional stance going, they only do one at a time. So that is the difference, and that's the reason why. Again, we go back to your fair Babalawo Institute. You got to understand the why. So Ocha is absolutely the diaspora version of Olorisha and how you crown Orisha. It's just done differently in the diaspora. That is Ocha. Ifa has two lineages, African descent, the Isheshe version, and then you have a lineage, and I'm not going to say it's not a version of Ifa, it's a lineage of Ifa. Because there's two lineages, there's diaspora and there's the Isheshe. Ifa is only one, right? So in diaspora is what I follow. That's why typically a lot of Babalaos in diaspora, you see them wearing the yellow and green, right? That's a diaspora. They're more in line, more in tune. They practice the same patakis, the same prayers, the same things as the Ocha priests and priestesses, right? Because we are all diaspora from that lineage. But then you have Olorishas from Africa who crown one Orisha, right? But can also get crowned multiple Orishas in different times in their life, right? And they're more aligned with the traditional Isheshe lineages of Ifa. Right? So that's why I say there's two different versions. And that's the reason why it's important to understand this version of where we live. Right? In the United States of America, this is where we're at. This is why it's important to understand where you are trying to captivate. Because again, I take you back to your eguns. Right? Your eguns are not in Africa. Okay? You may have eguns from Africa, but your primary eguns, your family, where they were buried, where they're born, where you live, where you put your head down, that soil, that ground, that's the richness and that energy that you are trying to harness every time you honor the eguns. Something that has to be understood, something that we just got to get back to those basics, right? Again, it's not right versus wrong. It's just what part of the world do you live? And let's focus on that energy. All right, what else we got here? Yes, definitely learn before initiation. Boy, Janae, you know me. Janae's my goddaughter, should tell you. I love to teach. I like to talk. I like to do my lives with my ile. That's just something that I do. All right. What's something about Ochosi that you can tell me, or something I can do to bless? He's my head orisha. All right, Boya. So who's Ochosi? You gotta look back to who's Ochosi. So when you say who's Ochosi, I kind of gotta relate back to. I had this conversation with one of my god kids just recently, and I was reaching out to him because he's in line of receiving an orisha, right, to support the elements of Ochosi, because Ochosi is an elder, right? Ochosi is one of the primary principal orishas in this faith. But what does Ochosi offer us? Ochosi offers us a lot of strength, a lot of ability to kind of navigate through legal matters, through justice, right? And I say legal matters, not because you broke a crime and now you got to go see Ochosi, no. But when you talk about legal matters, we talk about what is the land, what are the laws of the land? What are the laws spiritually? What are the laws universally? Because Ochosi's arrow never misses. Ochosi is a pure representation of blind justice. Doesn't look, it doesn't care. It wants to know what is right and what is wrong, and how do I help, right? The follower that is following me. If the follower is wrong, the follower needs to truly understand that Ochosi is not going to support that, because Ochosi is very strategic and very precise on what right and wrong look like. Now, remember what I said, right and wrong, right? Right or wrong. Now, what is right or wrong? That's where you got to define it, right? Because a right or wrong for a person who has their mano de orula is, did you follow your ita? Are you following the universal laws that were given to you? That's one. Two, if you know you live in a land that says if you go outside and you steal something, bad things are going to happen, Ochosi understands the law of the land. You got to be very mindful on whether or not that is something you want to do. Because remember, Ochosi is depicted as an archer, right? A skilled archer. And we talk about the symbolism of his arrows, and his arrows never missing, right? And we talk about that he hits the truth where it matters. He's the attributes. He's the seeking of justice and finding the things that are lost. He's a tracker. So when you look at the attributes of Ochosi and where he lives, his energy manifests in the woods. His energy is designed to help us through our problems, to help us in those attributes of our physical life, which is justice, etc., right? And seeking out the truth. And that's what Ochosi does for us. Hopefully, I kind of gave you a little bit. I know I don't want to give you too much. I don't want to make this all about Ochosi, but just food for thought. Hopefully, that helps you out. Let's see. Where we at? What's something about Ochosi? Okay, can you elaborate on Teja de Egun? Island Queen, Boya. Hey, Teja de Egun. There's an Ogdung in Ifa that talks about the aspects of Teja de Egun, right? That talks about the consecration of Teja de Egun. All right, now check it out. A Teja de Egun is a clay tile. Clay tile is representative to the earth. If you dig deep enough, you're going to hit clay. The earth is made of it. But more importantly, When you look at the clay, you look at the consecration that happens with the teja de eguns, there are signs that get marked on it because we are trying to tap into the earth. We are trying to tap in not just the earth, but the eguns that come from this earth. So Babalao's consecrated with the power of Odus in order for you to get all the eguns that are circling you and convening them into one object where they can be called. Not that they're gonna go, zoom in like a movie and they're gonna be powered up. No, that they has powered up so that we can begin to generate the aspects of Egun and call out to those ancestors that are male, female. We talk about aspects of the Egun from the other side when we talk about Orun, right? The ancestral plane. All those things are important. All those things are things that we always got to focus on. And that's what Teja de Egun gives you. That's why, to me, everybody who gets Mano de Orula should have a Teja de Egun. Everybody who has Mano de Orula needs to get a Teja de Egun. If you don't have it, you need to get it. That's something that's just mandatory because it connects you with the Eguns. You got to get Egun connected. 100%. Okay, I elaborated on that. So what can I say about Ndibre? If you receive Ndibre, and is that your sign in Mano de Orula? If it's something that you should probably take with you always. Type me who is your guardian Orisha with Odio. I am an Iyawo, and I have Obatala crown with Oya, Afarafun Obatala, Imafarafun Yansa. Okay, but we should I start learning before I move on to Ifa? No, so okay, and I think maybe I gave you guys the wrong impression. I probably guided you to become an Olorisha, guided you to become a priestess. So now, or a priest, but now you are in this transition period. For those of you who don't know, if you're a priest or a priestess, there is an element of a rebirth in your ceremony that you went through. You're basically brand new, and you have to be treated that way. We gotta treat you, and we gotta make sure that you are kind of in this peaceful stage, right? Where we don't want to overdo you because it's no different than a newborn baby, right? You ever seen a newborn baby and they got a soft scalp here? Think about it when you got crowned, right? You have a soft scalp here, and we got to cherish you and we got to nurture you. We don't want to overwhelm you, right? So that's the reason why in Yaworaje, there's a lot of rules about your 3-month meta, right? Your Ebo meta for the 3 months. And then after a year, they're going to do more ceremonies with you, right? And you're going to do the 2 most important ceremonies at the end of the year that you have to go through. And then you're outside of Yaworaje, right? And now you are all good to go. And you're like, man, okay, I feel good. I feel great. But your job is not done. Now you need to learn Ocha. You got to learn Ocha. Right? You got to learn the Orishas that you have around you, what those Orishas represent. What did they say to you? And why did they say that to you? But more importantly, Ifa never went away. Ifa's always been there. It guided you there. It told you who your destiny was. And as you continue to advance in Ocha, Ifa is still there advising you. You can still get consultations from Ifa without a problem. The only thing you can't do is go through any consecrations. You can't go through any more initiations until you're outside of Yaworaje because it could be detrimental. Because remember, you are in this weird kind of cocoon stage. You need to break out of the cocoon, become the butterfly, and then we can work with you, right? And we respect that. So until you're out of Yaworaje, Ocha kind of runs the show, and they're guiding you, and they're working with you. And then when you're outside of Yaworaje, boom. Now if you have to get anything with Ifa, then we can consecrate and initiate. But you can always learn. There's nothing wrong with learning. But follow the advice of your godparents. I'm not your godparents, and I don't want to overstep my bounds, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with you wanting to learn, right? A lot of times, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that people don't understand. Godparents got to pull books together, and they got to write transcripts together, and they got to do a lot of work to get you ready before your 1-year mark. A lot of work goes into that. So that may be why a lot of times the priests and priestesses, they just say, hey, let's take an hiatus, let's take a chill pill, and let's just, take this slow, right? But There's a lot of spiritual connection to that. No, Boya. Boya. That's a good question. So you can learn Ifa 24/7. I guess that's my answer. Okay. Let's see. What should I do? Leonard, what should I do? Okay. Leonard, I'm sorry. I answer you. Ache. Thanks, Baba. Yes, about the Teja de Egun. My husband has a Teja de Egun. Can I attend it as well? Be careful. Be careful. If you guys both have mano de orula, okay, if you both have mano de orula, and your husband went through a process to receive that teja. That teja is marked with the energy of your husband. Can you attend it? Sure. Can we? But he should be present when you attend it, right? Is it a blessing if he's attending and you're there? Absolutely. But eventually, you want to get your own teja de egun, right? Because there are things that a teja de egun resonates with when it comes to female, right, and males. And everybody who is a Babalawo, anybody in this who understands anything, we talk about the aspects of Oturaniku and Ireteyero. We talk about two oduns that Babalawos have to manipulate properly when they issue a Teja de Egun. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, we go back to where we at. Should we receive our Egun stick and tablet after our Wofaka before become Babalawo? I would tell you that everything comes back down to your Odun, right? When you look at your Odun, again, if you're going to become a Babalawo, you have your Odun, you know who your guardian Orisha is, you go through your processes that are applicable to you. Because maybe your guardian Orisha, maybe your Ita in your Mano de Orula says, whoa, time out. No Egun work for this guy, right? Or gal, right? And you're gonna pass through Ifa. Perfect. So then at that case, you don't necessarily need one. But again, I always tell people, they have the Eguns and Mano de Orula are fundamental ingredients. It's fundamental ingredients to the soup that is your spirituality. Very important. Very important. I think you got to get it. But if you're going to become a Babalawo, I wouldn't get it. If you're going to become a Babalawo the next year, don't worry about the Egun stick and the Teja de Egun. That's just my play. That's my play. That means that's my flavor of work. Because when you become a Babalawo, that's a different aspect of things. And there are other things that you should be receiving and other things that you should have that are going to complement your Egun work. It's going to complement your Egun spirituality. So that's just my advice to you, but talk to your elders. Definitely. Chango we odiobe. Edibre. The resurrection of the Eguns. You see how we talk about Eguns? You see how Ifa works? Ifa works in the mysterious ways. And Dibre talks about the resurrection, right, of the Eguns. But it talks about how the Eguns and the Orishas transition from one world to the next. That's why in Ndibre it talks about the drums. No wonder you're a son of Chango, right? The creation of the drums, right? And Ndibre was a master carpenter of Odudua, right? And created the drums for Odudua. And that's why in Ndibre, we talk about the aspects of tambores, right? For anybody who's ever been to a tambor, you saw the tamboleros, they were knocking, right? And they were calling down orishas. And every tambor has a specific orisha that has an altar, right? And they're communicating. That's why in Ndibre, guess what? Your strength is communication. Your strength is learning how to communicate spiritually. That's why in Ndibre, right, we talk about the vigilance, right? The person who's always got their eyes open, right? Because communication is a lot of things. You got communication where you can hear things, you can see things. How you communicate is 100% different depending on the situation. That's why in Ndibre, right, sometimes we got to tell you, hey, don't be so nosy. No offense, right? No offense. But sometimes you want to know more than you truly need to know. And sometimes that could even get you in trouble. And that's why in Ndibre, you got to be careful. And Ndibre is a sign because they like to communicate. They're very social people. They're very extrovert, right? They're not introverts. They're extroverts. They like to party. They like the pleasures of life. They like the luxuries of things, right? But you got to be very careful because again, all those things without proper balance brings problems. And with a son of Chango, remember Chango is a very passionate impulse, right? So it goes with the things that it likes. So Individe, if Individe is a sign that enjoys those nice things in life, and you're a son of Chango who's also very impulsive, you're going to draw to those things. And you got to remember to be a little bit more reserved. That's why you need to bring certain orishas into your life, like Obatala, to kind of calm you down a little bit. Because if not, man, you'll be all over the place. You'll be all over the place. And Dibre is it's a sign where the relationships are very important. And Dibre typically has a lot of issues, maintaining relationships because of their inquisitive nature, their inability to communicate properly with the partner. Right. So indeed, man, what a beautiful sign, man. It's a beautiful sign, but it's a sign that says respect the oceans, the seas, and the beaches. Don't forget, it was Yemaya who almost killed Chango because Chango became a womanizer. Chango forgot where he came from. Chango was not being the most ethical and moral being, and it had to be a wild loafing that had to come down and save Chango from Yemaya. Think about it. That's why we say respect the ocean. Respect the seas and the beaches and Individe because that Pataki lives in your sign. All right, but I'm not gonna go too crazy on that one. Hopefully that helps you, my friend. Hopefully that helps you. All right. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay. Also, throwing obi to eguns to accept your offering. Someone said ladies can't do it because of the womb. But what about after that cycle of life? No. It has nothing to necessarily do with the womb. I would tell you that your question just threw out all types of things. So the eguns, based on certain rituals and patakis, you are 100% correct. The womb does play a role, but it doesn't necessarily have to do with the womb more than women and how special women are. Here's the no kidding. In my ile, they laugh at me all the time when I tell them. I tell them, hey guys, we are, our bodies are just meat and bones. We are not as special as we may think we are. Right? Now, women, you have the connection of Olorum in you. Everything down to your molecule, your DNA is special. That's the reason why we cannot do certain things with you. That's why we can't allow the eguns to see you when they're talking, right? Because inside of you, you host life. But not only do you host life, whether it's there or not, you have the spiritual connection. That's why women are typically much stronger spiritualists and mediums than men are. Right? No offense to men, man. We just gotta call it for what it is, right? But it's very important to understand that that's the reason why when they throw coco, it's because we're not supposed to expose you to the eguns because we're trying to protect you. Because the eguns can sometimes lock you in, right? Specifically when it's in Ifa ceremonies and in certain Ocha ceremonies. So hopefully, that kind of makes a little bit of sense, but you drew a lot of things in my head when you said that. I was trying to figure out how do I articulate it. All right, what else we got here? Can my daughter appease my orishas? If your daughter is your daughter and she wants to put something down, that's beautiful. That's a mother-daughter relationship, no different than your orishas and you is a mother-daughter relationship. It's good to bring the children into the fold and allow them to come through. I don't want them asking for anything, right? Putting an adimu down and say, hey, thank you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Because that connection is pure. Remember, your orishas are characteristics of nature. The orishas are already with us. The orishas are already with your children, right? Now you putting down a piece of fruit or lighting a candle, much blessings. Nothing wrong with that. Boya e bucheche. Much blessings there. Lucero, 8 months in Yawo. Yawo will get you. Behave, Lucero. All right. It's an amazing feeling. Once you're done with your Yaworahe, I'm crowned Yemaya. Nagayu, looking for guidance. Well, Crystal, I'm gonna tell you something I always tell a lot of people. I have a lot of god kids that are crowned, right? And super excited when somebody gets crowned. But here's the best way for me to tell you how to navigate your Ocha. Now you went through Yawarai, now you're out of it, right? What does Yemaya represent? What does Ochun represent? What does Chango represent? What does Obatala represent? Here's why I say that. Because they all spoke to you, right? Let me give you an example. If Yemaya is talking to you, she is talking on a stance of fertility, of family, of unity. That's what Yemaya represents in this world. So when you read the Delegum and the message that Yemaya gives you, you need to apply that to family, to unity in your life. When you look at the message that Ochun gave you in Delegum, Ochun is what? The heart, emotion, relationships, intimacy, right? You have to now apply that to, or the Delegum for you, for Ochun, right? You got to apply that to your life, your intimate life, your partner, right? And the people that are around you, your friends that you love. Now, that's how you truly start to really navigate these energies that you have. That's what makes a strong Olorisha. And for anybody who becomes a priest and priestess, please, please, please learn your Moyumba. You got to learn a Moyumba. Learn a Moyumba, learn how to coco, and learn how to give a rogación. Those are three principal things that you can never forget how to do, to include singing to your eguns, right? And attending the eguns, all things services, right? You know, when you got your plate with the liquids and the bread and tabaco, and you sing Aumba Waori, right? Those are the fundamental things that you gotta learn. That's the connection. That's the strength right there. Hopefully that helps. All right, guys. We're at an hour and 20. So I'm gonna answer a couple of more questions because they came out here. And I don't wanna ignore you guys. So let's see. So no more questions after Crystal Melendez said yes, absolutely. That's what I've been doing. Man, beautiful. Crystal, man, good on you. You're doing your thing. Now you just gotta build on that knowledge. Okay, Oturashe. Ooh. Oturashe with what? Talk to me. Give me Oturashe with what? With which is your Orisha Batori? Very important. Remember, everything comes in combinations. Everything in this faith is correlation. Right? We got to correlate your guardian Orisha with Oturashe. Ochun. Mafarafun Ochun. All day. So Oturashe talks about when we look at the aspects of Ochun, right? In Oturashe, we talk about where Ochun visits the person constantly, where Ochun is an Orisha that tells us and begins to, we look at Oturashe in the aspect of when Ochun was already maturing. We hear a lot of patakis about Ochun when she was younger, when she was very naive, when she was maybe a little bit more flamboyant type of deal. But we don't ever hear about the leadership of Ochun. We don't ever hear about the warrior Ochun. We don't hear about the mature Ochun, right? Because a lot of times we don't tell those stories so often. So I'm going to tell you, in Oturashe, this was the Ochun that was able to stand tall, right, in front of all the other Orishas, right, in order to bring luck into the world. Because in Oturashe, you probably heard that Oturashe, it's a loss of luck. You got to be careful. You got to do this. You got to do that. You probably heard that many times. So in Oturashe, with Ochun is actually a great combination because Ochun is the one that shows us the love and the luck that comes into our lives. Those gut feelings that you get, those intuitions, those things that you're like, man, I just got out of this. I don't even know how I got out of this. That's Ochun that talks to you in that. And why is that? Because Ochun in this sign is where she started to tell everybody, hey, you have to keep your promises to the Orishas in order to open up the luck to come in through the Orishas. That's why probably your godparents have told you, Oturashe, you must keep promises to the Orishas Never make promises. As a matter of fact, in Oturashe, one of the first advice I tell everybody, don't you ever ask anything from the Orishas. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Ask for all the big things, right? The big things to me is love, prosperity, tranquility, stability, health, blessings. That's it. Don't ask for Oturashe. You got to be careful because the moment that you do not keep your promise to the Orishas, right? And I tell people this because I've been in war and I've been in the trenches, right? And everybody finds God very quickly when bullets are flying back and forth. And they say, please, God, get me out of this. And if I do this, I'm not gonna do this. And that's Oturashe. That's how I envision it, right? And it's very important to kind of enforce that because I don't ever want to see you get caught out there because Eshu will come down with a wrath. You will lose your luck, you will lose everything because they're trying to teach you a lesson. Right? Because your lessons need to be taught hard. Why? Because Oturashe, if you flip it, is Oshetura. The essence of Ache. That means you have the ability to be the essence of Ache in the spirituality. And this faith wants to see you excel. And the only way it's going to see you excel is by teaching you those hard lessons right away. So, little something about that. And I guess I'll leave you with this. In Oturashe, you also need to your elders always ask for rogaciones, head cleansings, right? Why? Because in Oturashe, the person has a hard time learning things and maintaining studies or trouble learning, right? Or you know what I mean? Or memorization and things like that. And they always have a tendency of falling asleep because they're not getting the proper sleep because their mind is typically not always in the right stage. And that's why head cleansings are very important for Oturashe. But no, Buddha boy, I don't want to talk no more about Durashe. Hopefully, that's a little bit. But, I don't want to overstep my bounds with your elders as well. We got to be very respectful of that. Very respectful. All right, let's see. Even though a person may not be initiated, do you think comes out of nowhere? Is your ego's warning you of your surroundings? Always follow your gut. Always follow your gut. Your gut will never lead you wrong. Those are your egos talking to you. They're trying to tell you, hey, intuition. If you follow your egos, you believe in your egos, you honor your egos, you light your egos, you give water to your egos are not they're not gonna lead you down the wrong path. Right? But don't be a fanatic. Don't be a fanatic. You always gotta be careful. That's a great question. All right, hey guys, favorite Babalawo Institute. Again, I'm gonna put the email right in the chat. If you're interested, I'm gonna start classes 26 October. All right, and I am excited for it. If you are excited for it, please take a look. There's the email address. I'll make sure to put it in the description below as well at this video. And hey, with that said, hey, Buddha Boya, Bucheche. We stood out here an hour and a half, and it was many, many blessings for me to have you on. So please share, subscribe, and do all that good jazz. Buddha Boya, Bucheche, guys. Thank you all for tuning in.